What if a game of Magic comes down to the roll of a die? Well, today we're going to play some Maddening Hex in Timeless and find out. So here is our Maddening Hex deck for Timeless, and Maddening Hex, super funny card. It was a commander card, printed specifically for Commander and a Commander precon, but it turns out it's a card that's way more busted in 1v1 format. So Maddening Hex, 3-mana curse. You enchant a player. Whenever the enchanted player casts a non-creature spell, you roll a d6, then they take damage equal to the die roll result, so between 1 and 6 damage, and then Maddening Hex goes to another random opponent. So this was designed for Commander. We're in Commander, you got 3 opponents, you curse someone, they cast a spell, they take a little damage, it passes around the table. Even if you high roll and get a 6, it's really not that big of a deal. But in 1v1, the card is kind of absurd because you only have 1 opponent. So you put the Maddening Hex on that opponent, and for the rest of the game, anytime they cast a non-creature spell, they're going to take between 1 and 6 damage, which is what, 3 or 4 typically would be like the average amount, which is a huge amount of damage in a format like Timeless, where people are casting Thought Seizes and brainstorms and counter spells and mana drains. So in theory, our opponent casts 3, 4, 5 spells, and Maddening Hex just burns them out of the game all by itself. So we're backing this up with a bunch of other repeatable damage effects. Eidolon of the Great Revel. When anyone casts something mana value 3 or less, they got to take 2. Roiling Vortex. On your upkeep, you take 1. Chandra Rest to kill. Chandra Torture of Defiance. Generate card advantage, but both also deal damage. So that's essentially the goal of the deck. Is slam a Maddening Hex, back it up with these effects, and trust that our opponent's going to die just by playing their deck. We also have Goldhound and Ragavad to get Maddening Hex down on turn 2 if we want to. The sooner the better. And since we're playing these turn 1 ram spells, we also got Blood Moon just to jank people out of the game if they're being too greedy. Otherwise, we get a bunch of removal, some Faithless Lootings to filter away our bad cards. One of the things about Maddening Hex is it only works on non-creature spells. So if we run into a deck that's just all creatures, it's not really going to do anything. So Faithless Looting lets us get rid of cards like that when they're bad. Mana base, a bunch of mountains, couple creature lands, Ram and Amp Ruins in the sideboard, a bunch more removal options, Rampaging Frozen for life gain, some Graveyard Hate, another Chandra for control, and that is Maddening Hex for Timeless. And that is our deck that's going to try to win by a roll of a die. So let's jump into some games and see just how good Maddening Hex can actually be on Magic Arena. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap-up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. It is Timeless time this week. We are maybe teaching Arena Zoomers about Maddening Hex, or how to lose to the roll of a die. Basically, we're playing some Maddening Hex. Maddening Hex, super interesting card. This hand has Maddening Hex and Blood Moon, so we're pretty happy. Opponent, what are they doing? Some sort of Yarion pile? Yarion. Ooh, Ragavan. We might just do a little dash in here. Do a little Ragavan dash. See if our opponent wants to counter it. Maddening Hex is a super interesting card. It's a card that they made for Commander that ended up being really good in Legacy, and now it's on Arena for the first time. It can deal a lot of damage. Maybe. Perhaps. Depending on how your dice rolls go. Opponent gets an untap land and counter spell. Well, better than a mana drain. At least it's not ramping our opponent. What do you got, opponent? Fetch land and passes. Well, the question now is, all right, opponent's gonna crack. So the question's gonna be, they get a basic. Do we try to Blood Moon? Do we Maddening Hex? Do we try to play around counters? I mean, if our opponent taps out, it becomes much easier. Then we just slam the Blood Moon. All right, Uro. We probably still slam the Blood Moon. Do they have a land to put into play? Hopefully, no. It's a fetch land. All right, so then you're gonna have 2 basics. Blood Moon's probably still the way to go. Yeah, let's just... So I can fetch out a basic, but this still is going to cut them off at least 1 color. Gonna make it very hard to get this Uro back, which is good. And then hopefully next turn, we can start the Hexen. This seems like a good Hex matchup. The only problem with Hex is it only triggers off non-creature spells. So if we run into a deck that's just all creatures, not going to be as effective. But against a deck like this that appears to... No. Beseiju. All right, so much for the Blood Moon plan. Yeah. Unfortunate. Well, I mean, we still have the Hexes. Wouldn't mind drawing a land here so we could double spell. All right, well, I guess a 1-drop also lets us double spell. I mean, we're gonna get the Hex down. Let's get the dice rolling going. Opponent, a Maddening Hex on you. What makes this card so devastating in 1v1 is It's designed for commander. And then once it's, okay, opponent's going to brainstorm, sure. And once it's used once and you take damage, then it passes to another random opponent. The thing is, in 1v1, there is no other random opponent to attach it to. So you're just hexed forever. Every spell you cast, you got to roll a d6 and take that. Every non-creature spell you cast, so you got to roll a d6 and take that much damage. Let's see how much damage this Maddening Hex actually deals here. Opponent can just like do Uro stuff. Ooh, Wilderness Wreck. Okay, spin it to win it. How much are we taking? 1. All right, it's going to take a lot of non-creature spells to kill our opponent 1 damage at a time. Although if our opponent's playing Wilderness Wreck, they are almost certainly playing a lot of non-creature spells. Do we attack with the Gold Hound? Do we need the mana from the Gold Hound? I think we get in. If our opponent fires up, yes, that's fine. They can't actually block it anyway because of Menace, but I like killing the creature land. That is a kind of an actual threat because they can fire it up attack and still have it up with Wilderness Wreck. So I think it's worth getting rid of. Bolt the creature land, hit you for 1, and keep on hexing. Number 2, all right. Opponent, cast some non-creature spells. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Wow, Teferi Time Raveler. Okay, let's roll some dice. Maddening Hex 1 says, ooh, 4, and, 6. Okay. All right, opponent's like potentially 1 non-creature spell away from dying now. If they roll a 6, they die. Opponent's going to untap all their stuff. Wow, another Maddening Hex. Sadly, I think we need to kill this Teferi. Even though hitting our opponent's face is nice. How about a Maddening Hex? Opponent, would you like to? Wow. Okay, opponent. You better have some non-creatures, friend. You better have some non-creatures. Faithless loot it. Wow, all the hexes. We have an opponent cannot beat the Maddening Hex, and well, that went pretty well. The first roll was pretty depressing, but overall, if you average it out, right, you're rolling a d6, so you're gonna get what, 3 or 4 damage on average. That's a lot of damage. That's not that many spells. Well, let's bring in our control stuff. Some more Planeswalkers. And run it like that. All right, on to game number 2. Well, Maddening Hex, so far so good. Ooh, this feels like a 1 land 1 keeper. This feels like we're on the draw. We got the Ragavon. We got Blood Moons for days and the Hex. We gotta keep it. It's okay. There's line number 2. That's huge. Well, Ragavon. Ragavon's nice because it can ramp us into Blood Moon or Hex. Or we got a lot of 3s in this hand, don't we? Opponent's in the tough position. They know wow, they just go for the Triumph. Opponent's in the tough position where they know we have Blood Moon, so there's some temptation to get, well, let's get in with this Ragavon, to get basics, but then they need the fixing. Ragavon hit Hydroid Crosses. What do we play here? Chandra? Let's play a Chandra. See if our opponent has a counter. Might have been worth baiting with a Blood Moon, but I like getting Chandra down as a card advantage engine. All right, opponent has the veto. I mean, it's a pretty safe bet they're gonna have a counter there. They seem like a very countery deck. Opponent, a Tuaro. Man, Blood Moon just ends them. Opponent passes. Well, let's get over the Ragavon. Hit ya. Do a little Thieving and Wilderness Wreck. Not really interested in that, but very interested in finding a way to resolve a Blood Moon here. I don't know if there's any way to bait with a looting. Let's just cast it. About it. Do you have another counter? I mean, thankfully we have 2 Blood Moons. Whew. All right, counter spell. Sure. That's fine. We knew it was a possibility. Opponent taps and draws. And, another non-basic. Oh, this would be the juiciest Blood Moon. Oh, opponent. Mackley. Oh, you better watch out, Mackley. Let's get him with a Ragavon. Hit ya. Opponent has not been able to stop this Ragavon. Steal a Brainstorm. They gotta be out of counters, right? We've already gotten through 2 of them. Oh, the Hex. Let's Hex them. I know Blood Moon stops them from casting spells, but Maddening Hex, we can just let them cast spells and make them die. Ooh, another Hex too. Faithless Looting Mountain, I think. Let's draw the Mountain first. Then we can play the land, and I guess run out this Eidolon. All right, so if opponent gets anything cheap, they take Eidolon damage. If they get a non-creature, they got to roll for the Maddening Hex. Our opponent just wants to play Magic. I mean, and the thing is, we're not stopping them from playing Magic. You can play all the Magic you want. You just got to take a little damage. Opponent, are we thinking or are we salting? Wow, are they just going to time out? Wait, are they actually salty roping? I was joking, but they might. It's kind of a badge of honor, right? No, it means you actually succeeded in building a good deck. Yeah, looks like they're about to time out. Sure, well, in that case, we'll go to combat, hit ya. Do a little Ragavoning, down to 9, and steal a land. Well, Maddening Hex, about to get hexed again. And, well, now we'll Blood Moon for good measure. Sure, we take some damage. Well, we are in the awkward position where we want our opponent to cast spells, but because of Blood Moon, they can't cast spells. 3, 2, 1. And that is Maddening Hex. Off to a pretty good start. All right, let's just keep doing that again and again and again. Teaching Timeless players about Maddening Hex. This hand does not have Maddening Hex, but it's got some Chandras and a Ragavan to get to them. What's our opponent up to? Control, maybe? Well, let's get down the Ragavan. Ragavan part 1. Opponent untapping. And, alright, gonna fragment Ragavan's reality, unfortunately. We might just dash this Ragavan. No one expects Ragavan number 2. The treasure's nice for ramping into these Chandras. Ugh, swords to plowshares. Alright, opponent came prepared with the removals, that's for sure. The good news is, they kind of look like a deck that's going to have a lot of non-creature spells, which means if we can find a Maddening Hex, opponent might be in trouble. Well, that's Chandra resolves and ping ya. Yes, Chandra, you're with the Gatewatch. We get it. We get it. We get it, Chandra. Opponent. Pretty soon they're going to have to change the voiceover to be like, I'm in a Netflix show. Well, let's... what are we doing with the Chandra? Let's play the Mountain. I think we still... yeah, let's ping. Ping with the Chandra. Down 18. And play a Chandra. Pretty clear our opponent does not currently have a counter spell, which I think means we just slam this Blood Moon and make our opponent sad. Are you still rolling a counter? No. Alright, opponent. Enjoy your 1 white mana. And a whole bunch of mountains. Oh, come on now. Opponent's got the island. That's kind of like cheating to draw basic land after... Oh, there it is. There it is. Don't tell him the hex is coming. Ping ya. Actually, let's draw. All right, we whiff. Let's take up Chandra. See what we find. Ooh, a Maddening Hex. Okay, okay. The more hexes, the better here. Hex you. Pass turn, leave up the bolts. Let's roll some dice. Opponent going to Atwara the Blood Moon. Okay. I mean, that makes sense. As good as Maddening Hex is, they just can't do much with the Blood Moon down. Ooh, Teferi Time Raveler. Opponent's at 18. Roll that dice. Roll that dice. And 2. Okay. All right, not great. Not great. Opponent's going to draw with the Teferi. Does this mean we just get to replay the Blood Moon now? I feel like we do. So opponent gets to untap. They're non-basics. I don't know about that plan. Tick up for mana. We also have all these lightning bolts, so we don't need to get our opponent that low with the hexes to burn them out. Do we have the counter? No. All right, well, in that case, little hexing? Just a little hex. Maddening Hex number 2. And now we'll just ping ya. I guess we could have left a mana up if we pinged first, but all right, opponent. Opponent also has to worry about these planeswalkers creeping towards ultimate. Opponent, gonna talk with Teferi. We didn't want that Chandra anyway. We just want our hexes. Opponent. Wow, okay. Opponent, 2 dice rolls. Number 1. The full 6, okay. That makes up for that 2, and then a 1, okay. The amount of damage is so random. But I guess that is because we're playing a dice rolling card. Opponent. Teferi. Gonna draw with Teferi. I mean, our opponent's at the point where if we roll well, their next non-creature could kill them. And it's way better than that because we also have these lightning bolts that our opponent doesn't know about. Pang ya. And Eidolon. We're just going to make it so if our opponent casts a spell, they're going to die. And, well, we probably should have done that in the opposite order. I don't think our life total really matters, but Roiling Vortex. Opponent. Solitude. Okay, that is not a non-creature spell or 3 or less. So our opponent does not take damage here. I mean, we have built up a very impressive wall of stacks here. Blood Moon, Roiling Vortex, double Maddening Hex. Opponent goes to 6, which is technically double bolt range. Opponent gonna draw with... I don't even know what they're hoping to draw into. What is the... We're gonna draw into a non-creature spell to get you out of this? About it. Well, I mean, I guess we just win with lightning bolts? I mean, the Maddening Hex did most of the work, though. Like, the lightning bolts are going to get in the last few points, but the Maddening Hex is what got our opponent's life total down to this point. Well, let's Ultimate or Chandra. Oh, this is game and a half, and about it. Scoops it up, and Maddening Hex still getting the job done. So opponent blue-white control. Chandra's good. We actually don't have a ton for this matchup. Maybe a Roiling Vortex? Maddening Hex is insane. I guess we can just go down looting. Run it like that. In this hand, well, we got the Hex. We will keep. Oh, okay. Well, Leyline of Sanctity is bad news. We're going to have to bolt this Tamiyo. Leyline of Sanctity means we cannot attach the Maddening Hex to our opponent, which is unfortunate. Oh, all right. I guess we're going to... And we can't get her off the battlefield, so I guess we're just going to have to kill him fairly. With Roiling Vortexes, like we're Crim playing Commander. Hit ya. Down to 19. All right. I mean, 20-turn clock. We got the 20-turn clock opponent with the tap land. We probably just Faithless Looting away this Maddening Hex now, since we can just literally never cast it. Ramanamp Ruins. Well, play the Ramanamp, and let's Faithless Looting. See if we can get rid of this Maddening Hex that is now a dead card. Wow, so many Rolling Vortexes. Let's discard, yeah, the Hex and the Unholy Heat, and get down that Rolling Vortex. Found it. Fragments Reality. The Roiling Vortex into a Ragavan. Ping ya. Down 18. And, oh god, the One Ring with 18 life, that is scary. Thankfully, our Roiling Vortexes still work. Oh, Blood Moon. I think we have to take a turn off to play the Blood Moon. Doesn't completely wreck our opponent, but it does cut away half their mana. Found it. Down to 17. One Ring. 16. Man, this One Ring is going to stick, though. We didn't even bring in answers to the One Ring. Fragment Reality. So much Ray Mobile. All right, rock him on down. Sure. I wish we had a Maddening Hex and a Tamiyo. And opponent, gonna draw with the One Ring, gonna flip the Tamiyo. Yep. Well, not looking great. I mean, our opponent is taking a lot of random damage between Vortexes and One Rings. The problem is they're gonna find another One Ring at some point, I'm sure. Let's do it in the right order this time. A Roiling Vortex, and then Eidolon of the Great Revel. And opponent, gonna take 4 this upkeep? Okay, we're getting there. This would be so much easier with the Maddening Hex out, but opponent down to 12. Opponent, gonna draw 3. I mean, if they whiff on finding another ring, Wormcoil Engine, that's actually not the end of the world because of these Roiling Vortexes. If our opponent could gain life with it, it would be very, very bad. But they can't gain life with it, which makes it less bad. I guess we Faithless Looting. Take the damage, down to 13. Ragavan and Lightning Bolt. Let's pitch the Ragavan. Not gonna get past the Wormcoil anyway. Creature. Land. It also means we do nothing this turn, but it does mean we can make sure this Tamiyo isn't going to ultimate if we have to. All right, let's see what happens. Opponent. Vortex. I mean, they really got to find a One Ring, right? Did we win next turn? Opponent goes to 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, gonna get lost of Blood Moon, but they take some damage for this. Down to 5. Okay. Our opponent has freed their mana, but they need a... Okay, draws with the run rate. They gotta hit a ring. If they don't hit a ring, I think we got them. They're at 5. Rings always beget more rings. That's part of the problem with the ring. Opponent gonna get back a Fragment Reality. Sure? I don't think that... Well, they could Fragment Reality their ring, I guess. Maybe that's the plan? Well, we're gonna fizzle this life gain. Take our beats. If they cast the Fragment Reality, wow. Wait, aren't they just killing themselves? Down to 3. I don't know how they didn't find another ring. We actually did it. Down to 5. That's fine. Draw a Ragavan. We can't target their face with the bolt, but we can kill this Tamiyo. An opponent scoops it up, and Hex in game 1, game 2, that Leyline of Sanctity was good, but not good enough. We pieced it together somehow. Putting Maddening Hex on some Arena Zoomers. Playing some Timeless today. checking out the power of a Commander Precon Legacy All-Star Maddening Hex, one of the special guests from Dustmorn. Well, let's play a Goldhound. I mean, we can theoretically play a turn 2 Maddening Hex, which could be pretty good. Opponent. Ooh, wow, okay. Even better. Even better. How about a turn 2 Blood Moon? How's about a turn 2 Blood Moon, opponent? How are we feeling? How are we feeling about that? Opponent. Mountain. Well, let's Faithless Looting. See if we can hit a land drop. Discard a million Faithless Lootings. And play the Mountain. Pass the turn. Opponent's also mono red. I don't know, for a mono red deck, they're not being very aggressive though. No 1-drop, no 2-drop, no 3-drop. Let's Maddening Hex you. Play the land, pass the turn. Well, now if our opponent ever does start to cast spells, look out. Opponent now in number 4 and scoops it up. Well, that is the beauty of Blood Moon. Sometimes it's the good guy stopping the Primeval Titan deck. Sometimes it's the bad guy janking out people on turn 2. We're gonna bring in a bit more removal. And I mean, we know they're a Lurrus deck, which probably means what? Nethergoyfs, Death Shadows, things like that. Like big cheap creatures. Turn 2 something. I mean, now our opponent knows about the Blood Moon, so we might see them try to fetch out some basics here. We also have the Maddening Hex and the Eidolon. This hand's actually pretty good. I like it. Opponent. All right, let's see the greed level. Greed check. Polluted Delta cracked. Swamp. All right, opponent. Greed level not too high. And the Thoughtseize. Let's see how much they respect the Maddening Hex versus the Blood Moon. I guess they could also take like Goldhound, but that seems awkward. Just to try to slow us down. Well, all right. Goldhound. And go. Opponent. The funny thing is they Thoughtseize the Blood Moon. And they have also managed to fetch out basic. Oh, Psychic Frog. Psychic Frog's a problem. That card is a problem. The problem with Psychic Frog is we have all this damage-based removal. But they can pump it outside of the range of our bolts and such. Is there a way we can kill it? I think, so we can attack for 1 and just try to race a Psychic Frog, which we have the Eidolon, we have the Hex, maybe it could work. We can also not attack, play the Eidolon, and try to do some like sneaky block, make you discard cards to pump and bolt it plan. That might be the best bet, I think. I feel like we have to get the Psychic Frog off the battlefield because once they grow it, it's just going to beat us and we're never going to be able to kill it. So we have to put our plans on hold to deal with this silly frog. And I don't even know if we can. If our opponent just discarded all their cards and went all in on the frog, I think they beat us here. Thankfully, they are playing lands at least. Bound combat and attacks. So if they discard their entire hand, it's 5 toughness. We can sack the Goldhound to make a mana, so we can cast the Bolt. I think we just double block and see what our opponent does. If they go in on discarding, we're going to lose stuff, but then we can bolt it post-combat and our opponent's empty-handed. If they try to cast removal or whatever, then there should be a window that we can kill the frog as it's pumping. Ooh, Orcish Bowmasters, okay. So the opponent takes 2, down to 14. Let's make them target first. Let's see what they target. Ooh, gonna go after the Eidolon. Interesting. Pings the Eidolon. Now our opponent discards a Brainstorm, but right now the frog's still dying. Are they going all the way? Oh my goodness, that is so good. Okay, so sack it, bolt it. We found the way to kill the frog. Oh my goodness, that was close. All right, well, frog down, Eidolon somehow still alive, and now opponent, I got a Hex for you. And this hand, all right. And I'm going to do a little cracking of the Polluter Delta. Grabs a Watergrave and Thoughtseize. Wow, they do respect the Maddening Hex. All right, good call, opponent. I am impressed, because that is not a card people normally play, so good card evaluation. But wow, opponent is just killing themselves here. And Inquisition, sure. All right, opponent, wow. Opponent decided on Faithless Loot. Okay. Honestly, Like I said, I don't know our opponent's hand, so they have that information that we don't. Without knowing their hand, though, I would think Faithless Looting is the least likely card that you would choose. Well, let's get some value out of this Unholy Heat here with the Swift Spear, pass the turn. Plus, we can still flash back this Faithless Looting at some point. I know Faithless Looting probably, wow, another Shockland. All right, Thought Sees us about it. Thought Sees us. Young Pizzy, sure. We probably have to kill that. We might wait till our turn, though, because of Spell Pierce. It would be nice for mana efficiency to do it now, because then we can looting, but if we get wrecked by Spell Pierce, that's unavoidable, or an unavoidable mistake. Let's kill the Pizzy. Get in, Goldhound, you down to 9. All right, opponent. Untap Shockland, please. Nethergoyf. Den of the Bugbear. Well, that's Faithless Looting. See if we can get rid of some of these extra lands. Opponent going to Mana Drain. Oh man, if we get down that Maddening Hex. Well, play Den of the Bugbear. This is actually going to be kind of close. Opponent, Mana Drain. Makes a little mana. Greedy. Well, we got these Den of the Bugbears, which I think we're going to start firing up. They might actually let us win the Ragavon. Huh. We could dash Ragavon. Opponent has 1 card in hand. Could be removal. Yeah, let's dash the Ragavon. All right, opponent's got the Bolt. Kills the Ragavon. Drops to 8. Well, play the Mountain. We'll see. If our opponent just sits back with this Goyf, it's kind of awkward. Well, I guess if they sit back with the Goyf, the Menace on Goldhound lets us keep chipping in at least. So I guess it's not the end of the world. Our opponent's gotta stop attacking, right? If they keep attacking, we're just gonna kill them with these. Ooh, Mystic Sanctuary to get back the Bolt? That's actually pretty good. Oh, ooh, Mana Drain, eh? Huh. We don't have any spells to cast anyway, so sure, I'm kind of glad you're drawing. Wow, and the attack? All right, well, we draw another land. Let's, I guess, just fire up the Den of the Bugbear. Cannot Mana Drain a creature land attack. Hit ya. Down to 2. And we'll play a land and pass the turn. And I think our opponent needs to top deck. But wow, it's fetch land. Getting back Mana Drain is not going to work out here. Now our opponent leaves a Goyf back, but I think it is a tiny bit too late because we can just Raminamp Ruin, formerly banned in Standard Raminamp Ruin. Hit you for 2 and, well, opponent managed to Thought Seize the Hex, but Goldhound, OP. What do we want again? I don't even know what our opponent's doing. Lots of colors. It's lots of 1-drops, lots of colors. It feels just like some weird aggro deck. Yeah, let's bring in some removal, I guess. Blood Moon seems absurd against this deck. We can probably go down a couple Roiling Vortexes. Maybe try it like that? All right, on to game number 2. All right. Well, I mean, based on what we saw in game 1, Blood Moon probably just wins the game if we can get it down. Based on what we saw in game 1, though, our opponent also has a lot of discards, so our Nethergoyf, okay. Our odds of getting it down might not be that high. So opponent Shockland Nethergoyf. Well, we will. And use this Unholy Heat while we can, I think. This does mean we don't get to ramp into Blood Moon next turn. But Nethergoyf's another card that can be a problem if it scales enough. Because if you think of our removal, it caps out at 4 damage, right? I mean, I guess technically Unholy Heat can get to 6. But we're kind of medium at turning it on. Although this hand with Goldhound can probably do it. Wow, opponent finds a basic, but it's Mountain. That is the worst. Opponent's, I'm sure, going to take the Blood Moon here. That's the only thing, yeah. The only thing that makes sense. Especially after the first basic we've seen out of this opponent all match, and it's a Mountain. Ugh, more Mountains. We could use a Faithless Looting with this hand. So I know Faithless Looting is kind of a weird card to play in a deck like this, but it's partly because we have some of those situational cards, right? Like, even Maddening Hex, our build around, if we just run into some creature deck, it just doesn't really do anything. So it's nice to be able to get rid of cards that are really good in some matchups, but really bad in other matchups. Ooh. All right. Well, I mean, we can get in with this Goldhound for 1. I think we're going to start rolling some dice. Hex ya. This is going to make Thought Seizes very painful. Oh, okay. Surgically extracts... Somehow our opponent still managed to take 2 damage. This opponent is just They're doing a really good job of killing someone. It's just not us. They're spending so much life on their own cards. Come on, fetch out a shock. You know you want. Opponent gets in, hits us for 4. The Goif is getting big, and we don't have a lot of pressure. Oh, even more mountains. We might actually just be losing to this Goif. Well, get in with the Goldhound. Like, our opponent might just not cast non-creature spells. Just might not cast non-creature spells and just beat us down with this Nether Goif. That might actually work here. Opponent cracks a Polluter Delta, gets a tap shock land. All right, opponent. Wow, basic number 2. Opponent's doing it. Opponent gets in with a Goif. We need a way to deal with this Goif. The Pyroclasm's not going to get it done. Ooh, Unholy Heat. Unholy Heat might be able to get it done in the future. Get in, hit ya. What we're going to have to do at some point is sack the Goldhound just to get card types in the graveyard. Opponent plays the tap land. We would like our opponent to cast a spell into our Hex. I mean, I guess at the same time, if Maddening Hex is just your opponent can't cast non-creature spells, that's still pretty good for 3 mana. Oh, Faithful Suiting's actually really, really nice here. Really, really nice. We need that one more card type. We're going to have to, like, Pyroclasm for no value just to get card types in the graveyard, which feels horrible. All right, opponent. Wow. Spin it to win it, spin it to win it, spin it to win it. Oh, 6! We got a 6. That is a timely 6 on that dice. Okay. Well, let's sack the Goldhound to kill the Nether Goif. And then I guess we get to flashback this Faithful Suiting anyway. Ooh, let's play the Eidolon. The Eidolon will tax our opponent if they play their cheap creatures. We do lose our Ragavan, but I think it's worth it. All right. Well, if you cast cheap things, you can take damage. If you cast non-creatures, you take damage. Wow. Rolling that 6, I think. If we had rolled like a 1 there and our opponent was still at 10, we might be in trouble. But rolling a 6, I feel like probably is going to be enough. Thinking. Realizing. Oh, okay. Path to Exile. Eidolon ya. Down to 3. Roll that dice. It's another 6. Time to try to put a Maddening Hex on our timeless opponents here. This hand, I like it. We got the Hex. Got a little removal. See what our opponent's up to. We get to play first. So let's just play a land, pass the turn. Not going to bother to Faithful Suiting. We don't really have anything we want to get rid of at the moment. We like all of our cards. Ooh. Opponent starting with a fetch land, not cracking it. Well, let's play this down to the Bugbear. Get down the Eidolon of the Great Rebel. Opponent going to crack the Wooded Foothills. Find a Hedge Maze. And surveil away a Brainstorm. All right. Well, that's probably a good sign that they have a lot of spells in their deck. Opponent Prismatic Vesta grabs a Forest. And, all right, Utopia Sprawl takes 2. Puts it on blue. Ooh, there's a Blood Moon. Although I don't know if Blood Moon does much at the moment. Well, let's get it with this Eidolon first thing. Hit you down to 14. Yeah, let's Hex. They don't have double blue, so they can't counterspell or mana drain. They could have, like, Spell Pierce or something silly. I'm telling you, just, if you roll 1s, you're fine. Doesn't even, it's a bad card. I don't know why your opponents don't do that more. People gotta practice their dice rolling. They spend too much time. Wow, Brainstorm gonna take the 2. Spend too much time practicing Magic, when really, the secret to being good at Timeless is to practice your dice rolling. Down to 12. I mean, they cannot cast, they need an answer to this Hex. I mean, with Kahira and what we've seen so far, they don't look like an Elementals deck. They look like a deck that's probably playing 0 creatures, which means everything triggers the Hex. Opponent Forest and, wow, Wilderness Wreck. Spin it to win it, spin it to win it. Big number 3. Okay, 3's not great. Well, Raminamp Ruins. This might be like a Nexus deck, probably. Down to 6. Well, Eidolon number 2. I don't even think we want... I don't even think we want the Blood Moon, although probably would have been smarter to do this in a different order. Although, honestly, if we're going to lose this game, we're going to lose by our opponent taking infinite turns, I think, not us randomly getting got by damage. Well, opponent's at 6. Memory, come on, big number, 6. Oh, down to 2. All right, so with this setup, our opponent can't cast non-creature spells. They can't cast spells mana value 3 or less. They cracked the Prismatic Vest to go to 1. we gotta have this, right? We gotta have this. There's no way. There's too many layers, I hope. Opponent end step. Gonna float some mana. Untap their mana. Oh no! Beseju's the Hex! Wow, no. There's no way they get out of this. There's no way. There's a Nexus. Okay. Opponent gets another turn, but there's still double Eidolon. And if they ever miss on extra turns, we attack them. So they still can't cast... Okay, Tamio, that's a 4. And that can dig for... Nexus? Come on. Whiff. Hits a Nexus. Then they still need an untap land. Wow. A Twara. Okay. Floats the mana. Untaps. No. Are they just going to go infinite from here? There's no... That can't be. That can't be. Opponent takes up Tamio. Whiff. Name's Nexus, I'm sure. Okay. That's good. Memory Deluge costs 4, so it gets around the Eidolons. Is our opponent just comboing off through this? Plays a fetch land, doesn't do anything because they can't crack it because they're at 1. Nexus of 8. Alright, so they found one with the Memory Deluge. Plays a tap land. Tamio, looking for Nexus of Fate. Oh, finds the Nexus of Fate. Man, Maddening Hex and Roiling Vortex both just put an end to this. But our opponent had to have Beseju. It had to be specifically Beseju. And then I'm still, Nexus. And then I'm still impressed that they're managing to do this without casting any cheap spells. I can't like Brainstorm or Archmage's Charm. But they're getting to the point where it's becoming deterministic now. Like, what's going to happen here is they're going to empty their deck enough that they're always going to have the Nexus. And I'm pretty sure, like, another turn or two, we're actually just locked out of this game. Because what our opponent can do is they will eventually start getting back the Besejus to kill the... Oh, they're going to do it now. Yep, they see it. Wow. The Besejus, during the infinite turns, will kill the Eidolons. We're 1 mana short of Ramadan Druids. Wow. Well played, opponent. I am very, very impressed that they managed to win through Hex double Eidolon. And we're going to run it back. We have every piece we need to beat this deck. Our opponent just found a way in that game. Well, I mean, we're going to keep this. We have no Hex, we got no Blood Moon, but we have Roiling Vortex, which is pretty good for punishing someone for taking extra turns. Let's just steal the Nexuses. That would be nice. Well, okay. We'll accept a Wilderness Wreck. We're not going to cast the Wilderness Wreck, but let's play Roiling Vortex. Opponent, would you like to take infinite turn? Wow. Apparently Roiling Vortex just beats them. Well, I mean, if you're taking all the turns, you're taking all the damage from the Vortex, so I guess that makes sense. Well, all right. We got a Ragavan. Ragavan's good. Opponent starts on the tap land. Well, we will start on the Dirty Monkey. Yeah, our opponent does not seem like Blood Moon is just game over for them. Well, get in with the Ragavan, hit ya. Bono, it's going to do some brainstorming. It's kind of cute. So our opponent can kind of use Ragavan's trigger to their advantage to some extent. I mean, I guess they have the fetch land anyway, so they can just shuffle stuff away. But they can probably set it up so they put something they don't want on top, something they do want, 1 card down, save their fetch land. Our Ragavan will get rid of the thing they don't want. Yeah, opponent. What'd you give us? A Memory Deluge. All right, well, play the Mountain. You know what? We're just going to slam the Blood Moon. The Eidolon might actually just be better, but if we're going to get value out of this Blood Moon, it's going to be now to shut down fetch lands. Well, all right, opponent's got all the basics in an Oko. That might be an issue. Opponent, well, okay. Opponent makes a food, but we have found a Hex. Hit you with a Ragavan. Hit you with a Ragavan, make a treasure, steal a mana drain. We came here to Hex, and Hex we will. Maddening Hex on you. That should be good if our opponent doesn't have an answer. This Oko is still an issue, though. They can just keep... Wow, okay, gonna trade with the Ragavan. Interesting choice. Utopia Sprawl, spin it to win it, spin it to win it. All right. All right, our opponents, they're learning. They're learning the technique of rolling ones. Faithless looting? Oh, Vortex is so... I mean, our opponent scooped a Vortex last game, but I actually think we might be discarding it here. We don't want to get hit by the Ragavan. We want to put blockers down, and we want to get rid of this Oko. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised our opponent aggressively... Yeah, we're going to discard it, unfortunately. I'm kind of surprised they ticked down the Oko so aggressively. If they just ticked up, elked, ticked up, elked, ticked up, elked, I think that would have... I would have been more scared of that. Well, let's get rid of the Oko, do a little lightning bolting, and assemble some defense. Man, I take so much damage off my Eidolon for no reason. I mean, when you do that, you still got to cast it, right? There's a temptation. There's always that temptation to be like, you know what, I'm just going to hold this Ragavan for a turn. If I play it, then my opponent knows I'm an idiot. If I just hold it, they won't know I'm an idiot. Although, it decreases my odds of winning the game. Oh no, don't kill the Hex. I see hovering on the Hex. I do not like the hovering on the Hex. All right, blink of an eye. Big numbers, Maddening Hex. Punish them. Eidolon hits them. 2. All right, 2's not as big as we were hoping, but okay. Block with the Ragavan, I think. I'd rather keep the Eidolon. I think we just need to keep the Staxy damage going here. Wow, just gonna pass. They do have double blue. Let's go attacking first. Double blue's counter mana. Play it safe, play it slow. Memory Deluge. Opponent draws some cards. I wonder if this Blood Moon's doing anything. Like, is it actually stopping our opponent from doing anything? Like, yes, it's annoying their mana a little bit, but opponent passes. Ooh, Ragavan. Well, yeah, let's just attack. Let's just attack with the Eidolon. Down to 6. We're gonna start with the monkey as a bait spell. See if our opponent wants to counter the monkey. Wow, they do. Okay, opponent counters the monkey. But this means the Hex is coming down. This means the Hex is coming down. Our opponent is putting their fate in the roll of a die. Hex you. Sure, we'll take the damage. And opponent doesn't even wait to roll the die, just scoops it up, and Maddening Hex out of the dregs of gold might actually be good. I think we taught some good lessons. So what did we learn this week about Maddening Hex in Timeless? And overall, we went 8-2 with the deck. It's worth mentioning we did start out at gold, but we got out of gold with the deck. So we weren't playing at the highest ranks because of the season reset. But still, the deck actually performed surprisingly well. And it turns out Maddening Hex itself is a really, really strong card. Yes, it is somewhat matchup dependent. Sometimes you run into Yogg or something that's pretty much just all creatures and Maddening Hex is bad. But it turns out a lot of decks in Timeless are casting a bunch of cheap spells. And we saw time and time again, Maddening Hex just straight up wrecking people, just winning us the game pretty much all by itself. And it's just like such a funny card to play with because there's so much variance to it. Like on average, yes, you're going to get 3 or 4 damage, but you never know when it's going to be a 1, when it's going to be a 6. We had that one game where our opponent rolled 2 6s in a row and just died out of nowhere. And that's the power of Maddening Hex. And it worked really well with all the backup burn effects. The only downside to this deck is being a mono red deck, we do struggle against big creatures. That's the biggest drawback. Like a psychic frog that snowballs out of control or a big Death Shadow. We just don't really have the ability to kill it. So there is a downside to being mono red. But overall, the deck functioned really well. Maddening Hex itself was kind of insanely powerful. And Blood Moon, a little bit matchup dependent itself, but still really, really good at picking up free wins in some matchups. So that is Maddening Hex. That is letting a game of Magic come down to a roll of a die. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will talk to you soon.